Yeah, I've been here a long way.
Forgive us for being a few minutes late. We just concluded an excellent workshop with some developers and our Planning and Zoning Commission. So I get on page 1 here and we'll get started. I've got 6:34 and we'll call to order the March 10th meeting of the Van Alstyne City Council meeting. If y'all will join us in the invocation followed by the pledges. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings upon us here today. We ask your blessings on all of our citizens and visitors who have joined us tonight. We're forever thankful for the men and women who serve our city, both here at City Hall, at Public Works, and police and fire, all of our first responders, all those who have given parts of their lives and their families to make this a great place to live. We ask your protection upon them, and we ask that you give us wisdom here tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. This is the time for public testimony. I failed to mention before the meeting, but you will need to fill out one of these cards if you wish to address the council in the nick of time. Thank you very much. I have 4 of those. You can either do so now, or if you want to discuss a particular agenda item, you can wait until that time. I now have 5. Anyone else? And of course, if you're, let's see if we have a public hearing tonight. If you're discussing things at a public hearing, a card is not necessary to fill out the slip of paper. Don't see one. Okay. In no particular order, I have Christy Marceau, I'm probably mispronouncing that, with Ryan Holloway, VASA president. Christy. And the topic is...
Ryan and I are just going to do it
together.
together.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got Ryan's card here as well.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome. So I failed to say you got 3 minutes. We may or may not be able to respond. This is an agenda item tonight, so we can respond either now or when the agenda item comes up. And please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm Ryan Holloway. This is Christy, as we were just presented here. We appreciate for the board to have this meeting. It's about the youth athletics, and we represent VASA. And we had you guys had a meeting last month, I believe, and we just want to go over the amendments and what's been had, because there wasn't representation here that that we can kind of give some feedback and give some perspective on where we're coming from on this. We're not too far off. This isn't a crazy contract. We're not talking about developments, but it is very important to the community. It is very important to us. We're always trying to do what's best for both parties. So that being said, I do have some registration numbers that I wanted to get to you guys. Y'all can pass this around. That's the gringos. Quick synopsis of the registrations in town with Van Alstyne Sports Authority and how we represent the majority of the kids in town. Our organization is a fully rec organization, nonprofit, and it's equal opportunity basically for all the kids. There's no special interest. It's not privately owned, it's a nonprofit, and there's a board that's presiding over it. These are our registration numbers. Technically, it's a little over 90%, probably closer to 95% of the kids in town are under this sports organization. And we can get into that if we need to. That being said, VASA is a nonprofit recreational league that processes registrations and works in place to place every child on teams, serving the majority of youth athletes in Van Alstyne. And we've done our research on surrounding communities. Almost, I think, 9 or 10 communities around us give priority access to the recreational leagues. We're not asking for full priority access. We're asking for limited access. We had access in the last few years. I don't know if it was unwritten or something that Tyler did take care of us on. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but when we have new people come in, new changes come in, we just need to be able to push back a little bit and make sure everybody knows the situation. You know, for example, we have a situation this weekend where we have to do some rescheduling. And in past, we've got priorities on those situations. And we're not trying to push, we're not trying to be bullies, but you know, when you have 10 surrounding towns that have full priority, I don't think asking limited priority is too much. And I know we have limited fields, but it is something that I have done a lot of research on, and my perspective has changed a little bit with knowing that every town around us does this.
You able to wrap up in the next 30 seconds or so?
Gotcha. And then we want some clarity on the fees that are proposed. If you want to go off that. just
Yeah,
real quick.
the
And Miss-
clarity on the
and- Yeah,
fees.
Christie can take her 3 minutes too.
Okay, I can kind of wrap
So
up.
she gets 3 minutes too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So, yeah, so, you know, that kind of just, it's real quick, so, you know.
He can take my 3 minutes, it's okay.
You know,
On this one instance, I will allow
Yeah,
you to
but there
yield
you
your
go.
time to
There
your
you go.
colleague.
I'll wrap it up. I just wanted to appreciate, you know, you guys doing this. I know that, again, this is not probably worth, you know, your time, but, you know, it is very important. So,
It's important to us too.
thank you.
Yeah, the clarity on the fee structures, most of it's pretty, understandable. The city is marking for soccer this year. This is the first season that we've had that done. And on there, it says field marking per day, $50, maintenance staff fee per person per hour, $50. So we just need some clarification. Are we paying $50 per day plus $50 per hour for however many people are choosing to go out there to mark fields and that kind of thing? And then the other thing we wanted to talk about is the fees themselves. Many of the surrounding towns, and I think Jen is going to talk more about this too, don't charge their youth sports organizations to use their fields, or if they do, they're refundable deposits. And so looking at the fee structure, like my specific concern is for the practice fields over at the recreation center, the College Columbia fields. Jeff has been really great letting my coaches reserve those fields for free if they email him every week and say, we'd like this field for this time for our soccer practices. But that's a lot on Jeff. That's 10 coaches emailing him every week and him going in there and having to reserve those fields so we can avoid that $5 or $10 fee. I'm okay with fees. Ryan and I have talked a lot about this. We're okay with some fees because I understand the city needs to make money and stuff too. But those fields over at College Columbia fields are almost a liability. And, with VASA insurance, our teams have to practice on city property for them to be covered under VASA's insurance policy. However, when the fields owned by the city are a liability themselves, that's concerning. For example, last season we had a mom fall in a crack that was 12 inches deep and 12 inches wide, twisting her knee. I have little 3-year-olds out there practicing soccer. We literally have to put cones around all the big cracks and craters and things like that. We've also had countless kids fall in ant piles and get covered in ants and have allergic reactions. So again, when I see fees now being associated to those fields, I'm like, I get it, the city's trying to make money, but those fields need to be maintained a little bit better if we're gonna have to be expected to pay for them. Like I said, Jeff's doing great. He's avoiding the fees for us, but it's a lot of work on him.
Yeah, we understand.
Just with the
there's overhead.
current setup, But yeah, that's about it. Jen's gonna talk more.
Very good. Thank you for your comments. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
All right, we will go to Miss Jennifer Marr next. Good evening.
All right, I'm just going to read my I think.
Please.
Okay, my name is Jenna Marr, and I live here in Van Alstyne, and I am the VASA softball co-commissioner for the 2026 spring season. I'm here tonight on behalf of VASA softball regarding the partial field access at Forestmore Park. Individual consideration, the broader request we have in regards to our contract with the city, but I would like to bring up one specific issue that we are facing currently. When we initially scheduled our preseason softball tournament, we were told that VASA would be able to use fields 1 through 3 at Forestmore Park for our tournament. The tournament was originally scheduled for this week, March 9th through the 14th, but due to the weather over the past weekend and the fact that the other towns could not prepare their fields, the league decided as a whole we would push the tournament back 2 weeks to accommodate for next week also being spring break. With that change, we've now been told that we must work around previously scheduled outside reservations that are on Field 3, and we don't have the field space to move those anywhere else, like to McKinney-Wilson. But because VASA does not have priority, we cannot use that field at all. This leaves us in a situation where 4-, 5-, and 6-year-old little girls could be playing games until 9:30 p.m. on school nights, multiple nights a week. And then, depending on where they're traveling from, a 30 to 45-minute drive home as far as Collinsville or Pottsboro. For a city the size of Van Alstyne with 6 available fields, this is very concerning to me as a tax-paying resident of the city. VASA is the only equal opportunity youth sports program here in Van Alstyne. Our registration is open to every child in the community regardless of their ability to play. The other outside organizations, to my understanding, that are reserving fields are select teams or individual teams wanting to go elsewhere outside of Van Alstyne to play, like MBSA and ASA in Allen. And not every player has the opportunity to participate in those programs. In no other town in the North Dallas area have we found a city staff that prioritizes outside reservations over the city's recreational youth sports program. All other cities put outside teams in the slots that are not filled by the local rec programs. I know this because my oldest child also plays select ball, and we have since she was 8 years old. She is now 13, and we too are moved around to accommodate the local recreational teams in Allen and Plano. While it can be inconvenient whenever things are changed last minute, it is understood that community youth leagues are the foundation that helps players grow and eventually feed into these said select programs. I would also like to add that we did not change anything last minute. We actually provided a 2-week notice community program that serves all of the children of Van Alstyne and ensure that our youngest players are not put in a position where they're playing late at night on school nights.
Thank you, Mrs. Mark. Good timing. Okay, I also have Mrs. Linda McConnell. Linda. I take time or it gets kind of.
Thank you, Your Honor, the mayor, and distinguished council members over there with my cane. I hadn't planned to speak tonight, but after the previous meeting with P&Z and all the discussion about the size of lots, I felt like I just had to talk to y'all. I've been selling real estate here since May of '93. When we first started, we had 4 homes. 3 of them were in the county, 1 was in the city, and it was in pretty bad shape. And we had a lot of land, very little. We didn't have any small lots. Everything was either in the city and it was already built, or it was just land. So we started selling land to a developer. I sold some in '93. He developed it in '94. We had 2-acre lots that sold like hotcakes. So then he started doing more, and then we did a lot, a bunch of them. Matthews Farms, a bunch of different ones. Anyway. We started having lots for people, but we didn't have anything in town until they started building Georgetown. So then, 2001, Mary Chandler, a lot of you might know, Mary Chandler, I'm sure. Ruth Ann Collins, Ora Mae Botsford, she was Pfeiffer, she was born here, grew up here. All of these people, there were about 20 ladies who had grown up here, lived here their whole lives, some of them over 70 years at that point, came to me and said, Linda, please get us some patio homes built. They said, we need patio homes. We can't maintain our homes. We have to hire people to mow. We have to hire them to come change light bulbs, all those things. We want patio homes. So we started working on it. We found a place, we found a developer, we found somebody willing to do it. But it turned out it was going to cost $300,000 for a house. Well, they couldn't sell their homes in town for $300,000. They were going to get 145, maybe 150. So they were going to have to put a lot of cash with it they didn't want to do. So that didn't work. So we just had to forget it at that point in time. But I didn't forget it. So I kept working with the people, and I found 4.5 acres, and then we kept on, and we put together, it took me 10 years, but we put together 10 acres that's in the city limits, utilities are available, and it's ready, it's teed up and ready, they can build patio homes. Those ladies all died in nursing homes in McKinney, except for one who's still living, and that's Ora Mae. Now that's horrible, that because people who moved here a year ago or 4 years ago or whatever don't want to see small lots in the city, that our people who were born and raised here died in another city because we couldn't provide them with a patio home in town where their family could come and see about them. And that is wrong, and it should not be allowed. But another thing I can tell you from having sold real estate that long, and I know my time's up, is that I've had lots of people call me from back, I'm talking about back in the 90s, on down, it's gotten more, that they have family that lives and works in the DFW area. But they're coming from New Jersey, they're coming from Illinois, they're coming from Georgia, North Carolina,
Can you wrap it up in
Wyoming,
the next 20
you name
seconds?
it, yes. They want to buy a home on a small lot in a town like Van Alstyne so they can still go see their kids when they're in a play or when they're playing a game or whatever. They don't want a big lot. These people are retirees. They're going to bring their cash and buy a house for cash in our city limits if we have them. But right now, we don't have them. And we could. We have wonderful developers wanting to build nice developments that would be in the city limits and would pay taxes in the city. That's another thing. Those
Okay.
ladies, their homes, had frozen taxes. We'd have taxpayers that would buy their homes that would pay full tax.
Thank you,
There's
ma'am.
a lot to consider there.
It is indeed. Thank you very much.
so And yes, I'm passionate about it.
We appreciate that. Mr. Thomas Fletcher, I believe, Kimley Horn.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I will wait till, I'm here as the representative of the applicant for items C and E.
Very
I
good.
will wait until those items are presented.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate all those who are here tonight, and especially those who've taken the time to make public comments. We will now move on to the consent agenda, item 4. Would any council member like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Hearing no request, I would entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda, all items.
I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion? Got a motion from Dusty to approve the consent agenda, vigorously seconded by Lee. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0.
I
Thank you.
didn't say aye, but I'm an aye too.
You and I. 7 votes to 0. Thank you. Individual consideration items. This is item 5, letter A. Reconsider authorizing the city manager to enter in an agreement with Van Alstyne Sports Authority, VASA, for the use of specific city-owned parks, providing a public service to the residents of the city. Jennifer.
Just wanted to provide a little bit of a reminder that at the last meeting, council approved the agreement as it was presented and as it is in your packet with the change that we modified the use of the old high school fields at Forestmore Park. They're designated as 3 and 4, so removed those from the agreement. And VASA was working directly with our Parks and Rec superintendent on the agreement, and they were under the impression at the time that their attendance at the February meeting was not necessary, so they weren't able to have representation here to speak to their needs. So it's back on the agenda for your consideration so that they have an opportunity to speak to their specific needs with VASA. So at this point, they have not yet signed the agreement. Oh. We do have just the only changes, like I said, the only change we had was to Forestmore Park and the use of Field 3 and 4. So this just represents what was presented to you in the agreement, which is on the left. which includes some limited use of fields 3 and 4, and then what was amended by the agreement, which took away that priority use of field 3 and 4 on the right side. As you've already heard from the folks from VASA, they're here to speak to their needs as relates to these additional fields. I would like to address just the fee comments that were brought up previously. The fee schedule itself is for any use that is not included as a part of this agreement. So any use of these fields that are circled in any of the specific locations, Forest Moore, McKinney-Wilson, and the Columbia College site, those are covered by the fee that's in the agreement, and there's no additional fee from the fee schedule. Those are only for non-VASA users, or those fees would apply to VASA for the use of fields that are not part of their agreement. So as was approved by council last month, those fees would apply to VASA if they're using fields 3 and 4. But it does not apply to their use of fields 1 and 2 at Forest Moore, or the big field at McKinney-Wilson, or the the fields that are designated at the Columbia College site. So, but we'll let VASA speak if that's the pleasure of council.
Let me see if council has questions for you while we've got you up here.
No, I don't have a question for Jennifer. I was just going to speak in general.
Yeah, please.
I got a question.
Okay.
The fees for the field, because we talked about that, that's the mowing and the insect control and spraying and everything else. That's what we talked about. I didn't forget that, right?
Yeah, and the fees that are in the schedule that was amended last month also, those are specific to users, non-VASA users or VASA when they're using facilities that aren't included in their agreement. The fee that is in the agreement that applies to VASA is, I think it's $10 for resident players and $20 for non-resident players. And that would be for, historically, I think it's just been baseball and softball, but since we've added soccer, the city's marking for soccer, that fee would apply to soccer registration as well.
And that addresses what they were saying about the Columbia fields over there getting
Well,
the best they can.
right. To the best of our ability, we will continue to maintain Columbia College and maybe give a little bit more attention to the ants, which, appear out of nowhere, especially when it rains. But the large craters in that area, it's not irrigated, and it would, like we talked about last month, would be, I think, $20,000+ to irrigate that area. And I don't think that we've identified an ultimate use for that site. So whether it will continue to be soccer fields, we're not sure. So it would be a budget consideration whether or not we irrigate those fields to reduce that risk.
So with VASA, we realize it's not irrigated. Columbia Field's not irrigated, right? So it's gonna crack.
Yeah, that's why we
Okay. No, I got you. And then
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna address the ants because I remember kids playing on it. Yeah, and then you get the parents that are like, wait a second, what chemical did you put in down? It's a catch-22. So I just want to make sure that Columbia Field has always been, since we've been here. That's where kids toughened up for sure.
You can lose a small child in one of those holes. It's not hard.
Well, and it's not a soccer field.
Yeah, no Panther Stadium.
That's gone.
You got scars
I think
from
I
there.
lost a kid in there.
There you go. So that's all. That's my question I got.
Thanks, Lee. Anyone else from council?
I have a question for Jennifer when she's done. Go ahead.
Katrina, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, can you address the fee, because I saw heads roll in when you said $10 per kid, what that includes, like our staff doing what all they do to prepare these fields day in and day out
Yeah.
for use?
We do have contract mowing on, well, I think our staff mow the fields twice a week, and they chalk the fields and drag the fields. I guess based on the practice schedule and game schedule that's provided.
And prior to that, VASA coaches had to maintain the fields.
Right, years prior. I think even
that's why-
VASA might have even still been paying us, but maintaining the fields. But, so we have the city has taken over chalking the fields, I putting out bases, maintaining the playing fields
So the fee basically covers
and lights.
our costs for, yeah, lights
are the big
and
one.
staff.
Okay. Marla?
Now, I know that we talked about fields 3 and 4 last time. I was not aware that we would, if they were able to schedule it, that they would be charged for it, though. Is there a way to change that piece, too? If they're able to use those fields, I mean, I know it's not in their plan, or could it be in just like a limited way if they were able to I don't think they should pay an extra fee. They're already paying for all of the other fees, but still not have the, what was it called?
Priority,
There you go.
yeah.
Priority use. So if they can find a way to get a slot in there, I would hate to say that we're charging them more just to use those 2 fields, but we have a lot of other teams and kids that don't play VASA. So we also have to account for their usage. So, we can't just say one group gets to use it all the time. That's why we have to pull some fields out so we can take care of everybody else as well. But I hate to charge them if they are able to. And especially on a one-time use, like they already had their tournament scheduled, I think we should be able to work around that somehow.
We're the one that changed that last week, or last month, right?
I wasn't aware we were gonna be charging them for it, though, if they did use it, but like if nobody else is using it or whatever, they just wouldn't have priority access is what I understood.
Yeah.
I guess I missed that part, but.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess, and I heard about it in a lot of different ways, that my words kind of got tangled out there and all that stuff. And I have nothing bad to say about VASA. Nothing bad. I like VASA. My kid is a part of VASA, and basketball was in baseball, all that stuff. My point that I was making last month, and this goes to Marla, is VASA right now in baseball, because we're not talking about basketball or soccer or anything like that. In baseball, has the only 2 or 3 workable fields for games under contract to be able to be used in Van Alstyne as a whole, baseball, 3, and softball, I guess, because they play softball on both those fields too. So they have the only 3 workable fields. And we added the old high school softball field and the old high school baseball field early this year or end of last year or whatever it might be. So it added an extra field. And my point on that was, I don't mind VASA using those fields, but they need to go through the same process as to get those fields. And I agree with Marla, they shouldn't have to pay extra for it, but they should have to go through the same booking process of those fields as I would if I wanted to book a practice on Saturday at 2 o'clock on the old high school field or the old high school softball field. That was my point. And I didn't think it was appropriate to play soccer in the outfield of the old high school field. Those were my only 2 points that I was making, is I just don't think you give every workable field that we have priority to VASA to play softball and baseball. And to address some of the points, and I'm not mad at y'all for, like, my kid plays till 10 o'clock and he's 9 years old too. That's just kind of the way it goes with the fields that we have here. And a lot of those other communities, not every one of them, but a lot of those other communities have 3 to 5 times the fields available to use. The further south you go, it gets even more and more and more and more. So I get why those communities can say, hey, whatever outreach, whatever city sports league, you have priority access and everything, because they have enough fields probably to help accommodate other teams as well. We do not, and it sucks, because I wish we had 5 other fields that, VASA could get all the fields that they need, and then everybody else could get a field too as well. And unfortunately, it's not the situation that we're in, and that's what I was trying to say, is if VASA wants to book and I agree with Marla on this too, that if they already had it booked on a weekend and the weather has called it off, they should be able to book another weekend and they get priority on that because they already had it in one weekend. I agree with that. But my point was, moving forward, they shouldn't just be able to, a weekend in April say, hey, we want this field, 3 weeks prior, and we have priority and we get the field. And that was my point. It should have to go through the same process as if I book it or want to book the field on a Saturday. So that was my point. I think I love VASA. I think they do well, and I think they ran very well, and a lot of our kids in our community play in VASA, and it gives them a lot of opportunity to be on a team. And I'm 1,000% support that. And basketball, everything, all the sports, and I love that y'all are doing soccer. The fields over at the old college, those aren't soccer fields. So I wish we could give you more grass to play soccer in. And unfortunately, we just don't have it. And I don't think they should be charged a fee to be on that field either, at all, because that's not really a field, that's hardly grass.
I actually feel like they should be able to schedule out when their schedule's there, because parents like to have practice dates and times, and that's ridiculous to make them do it a few days out every week when they have an agreement with us. They have an agreement with us and they pay us.
Right.
Nobody else does, like they can
Well,
rent
I
the
do.
fields.
I have to do
But-
it 7 days in advance and let my kids know and let my
Okay.
parents know and pay.
Well, then let them play with VASA. I mean,
Well,
No, not
No.
everybody wants to play with VASA, that's the point.
well, but there's a reason we have a contract with them, and they
And that's
are
all.
our local sports authority.
Can I just ask where does?
Yeah, hang on a minute. Are we done up here for the moment? Okay, I'll recognize you, Jennifer.
Can I ask what organization,
yeah, they play for 316.
316, which means you're practice field? NBSA, 1 day a week.
Yep.
So I actually did a lot of research on surrounding cities. Sherman, Denison, Whitesboro are all ran by Parks and Rec. They do not charge, none of them charge their youth rec organizations, and their youth work all get priority status based off of outside teams. City of Anna has very limited, Slater Creek is reservable March or June. Practices they have 3 softball regulation size fields, 1 baseball. Johnson Park is also, it's first come, first served, but is not reservable. It's reserved for city practices in March and June. ASA, which is Allen Sports, also, they have multiple leagues, multiple fields throughout their thing. That's actually where my child plays. It states on their field, Allen Athletic, Allen Association practices. Result in there's a rescheduling of Salina, same thing. During our rec league season, mid-February through not rent any of our diamonds out our league team. We're actually not even asking for access of 3 and 4. We're asking softball tournaments and 1 VASA 14U baseball team have access because Forestmore Park, where they currently 14U get practices on Park, 1 for 14, and that field is not house 14. But they've dealt with it, and they've dealt with it, not that team specific. VASA have dealt with that since down Park to start building facility over there. We're asking for limited access to have priority anybody outside of VASA renting them out so that we have access and don't have little girls that are in the wee playing 9 o'clock at night when they are usually in bed by 8. And then they're starting a game.
Thank you, ma'am. Other questions or
Do I
comments?
get to respond?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. And that, believe me, how other cities do it, that's fine. Like, it's not gonna change my mind to whether we have 5 fields that can be used to where I think that VASA should be the only one that has priority to every single one of those fields. It's just, there's other organizations, there's other teams, I mean, that's just my opinion, is the fact that y'all have the 3 fields that we can play games on outside of the old softball field, that y'all have, it's closed down, nobody can practice on it, nobody can play on it unless it's through VASA, and that's okay. Like, I understand that. We need to dedicate that space to, especially city interest nonprofit organizations that run sports, with how many kids y'all run through VASA. I 1,000% agree with that. I just, and to your point about 316 and getting the 1 practice in McKinney, I mean, I get that too, but we have a team of 10 kids that are all Van Alstyne ISD. Like, why am I gonna run them down to McKinney when I should have access to a field to have practice during the week. I shouldn't. And the second part on 14U can book the old high school field. You just got to go through the same dang booking process that we do. And you just don't, but they shouldn't pay for it because that should be included in their fees that they're actually paying. And that's what I think. Like, I just think
When
that's.
are your softball tournaments?
The first one is our, starts the, I have to double check the date. Those have been provided Parks and Rec already, so those it's the first week.
Yeah, and I think you should, if they have it and they have it booked already and it's there and everything, then I'm totally okay with that.
Was that booking canceled or?
So the booking for this week, our tournament was pushed back for 2 weeks. All the rain we were supposed to get, and I don't. The fields were
Yeah.
open yesterday, but the league itself, because we are, besides us, Oxborough, I believe, is the only other, town in our softball league that they don't have to worry about working their own. Their city does it, but like how, Tom Bean, those are all done by their volunteer softball commission. And so we are very fortunate that we have guys that do that through the city, but the other towns don't have that. So instead of having this team playing partial here, and it was supposed to starting to yesterday, actually, it was supposed to rain more. They were like, we're not gonna get these in before Sunday, so people are not stuck here.
Okay, thanks.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, Mr. Holloway.
I think we got a little confusion with, our priorities are to take care of all the kids. That's what us as leaders and representatives of the board are doing every single. I know a lot of the guys that are in those leagues own those. I mean, it's our priority to make sure they're taken care of as well. So it's not for us to have full access, push out the other league. That's not what we're doing. We have an interest in making sure they're taken care of too. But the way the process is with other towns that have limited field space availabilities, they don't go through this same process as what you're proposing. They have limited priorities. Now, if you want those priorities, you need to be with VASA. And I'm not saying that because I'm the president. I'm not saying that because if you believe they're a good organization or they're bad or what. That's just the better process for the. And I think it's a little bit, for lack of better terms, dangerous for you as the board to see that differently because you will have a whole community. It doesn't make sense to me when you're not trying to push out these kids. But the process is this way, and if you're trying to change the process, that's fine. My question is what is your reasoning? You're saying
Just
because
gave
we
you
want to take care of these other groups, which we will. We have a track record of work with Jeff or anybody to make sure that group is taken care of. But we go out of our way. We can put whatever you need in writing, but, and I don't have to have limited priority either, but I'm just saying we're doing something different than every other town around here, and that's okay. But this is the majority of this town. And it's not for what, maybe what your perceptions are. And I'm not saying if that's right or wrong, just based off what you're saying, it doesn't sound right to me. It's not we're trying to take full priority. That's not what's happening.
No, but based even off the numbers that you gave us, if you look at spring 2025 youth baseball, 285, then you look at 2026 youth baseball to 176. 90 players have gone and left VASA to go to a different league or go to a different team. Either way, I'm not, my point on that is what I'm trying to say is that there's other kids that are trying to get field time and play and stuff like that. And I'm not saying VASA shouldn't be able to play on those fields. I'm just, my whole point, you asked what I want, what my point was, and my point was, not every town has 5 workable fields. Not every town, like Plano has, I don't even know, I'm not even gonna take a guess, but I promise you, the reason why they put on.
They're not even in question.
I know, but the reason why they have priority is because they probably still could give all their rec teams priority and still have 10 fields left over for everybody to go play baseball. And that was my point. Do I wish we had 10 fields where we could give you 8 and have everything secure and y'all could do whatever y'all want with those fields and all the kids could play in those fields? Absolutely. I've been trying to push and push and push for us to get baseball and softball fields. We just don't have it, and that is my point. And it's not even affecting 316 because 316 is about to move to their own field. We don't even need it we don't even need it. But what? Yeah, but what happens with the next organization that comes in and says, hey, we're trying to do the same thing and we want to get at least one field during, spring peak and stuff like that. And if y'all can come up with an agreement to where that could be worked on between VASA and the city in a, reasonably fair way, I'm going to raise my hand and say I'm on board.
These
That-
two
you
fields
understand?
just now came into play.
Yeah, and that's what we were
So
trying
we
to
never
do.
even had access to these fields until now. So. I really hate hearing that because that is a good field that would be ruined.
That changed last month after soccer still. That was his.
Okay.
And he said, no, I think it's changed.
Correct. We changed that last time. Let me give Katrina a chance to pitch in.
I guess I'm not understanding this because we have an agreement with VASA. I know I already said this, but they might as well just pay for the fields like everybody else then. Why do we have an agreement with them? Why do we take their money if they don't get any kind of priority?
The only difference this year is we added 2 fields.
No,
They've
the
had this
the only
agreement
difference
up
is
until then.
Nobody's letting them, like, the priority access, like, I understand what they're saying, like, they should be able to schedule. They are our local organization that we contract with.
Not everybody has enjoyed their experiences with VASA,
That's
me
fine, and
being
I
one.
I understand why
It's-
people have
it's not been a
personal
good-
opinions about it, but somebody does not have children in VASA, it doesn't
I
make
don't know.
sense to me.
But I
But
think
it's-
what the point that they were making, I think what was being made there was last year, right? The VASA contract last year, for the fields that they could play on, baseball, right, was Forstmore, 1 and 2, and then McKinney-Wilson, the 2 fields that were over there, correct? Last year, they didn't have, because the ISD had the other 2 fields, and they're not working with they do it in basketball, but they didn't do it in baseball. And so that was the point, I think, the contract, you're wanting to add these 2 fields into the contract as usage, correct? For 20? I know, but just for what y'all are looking for is what you state on there, right? Like limited priority access and everything like that?
How is that different than what we're saying? Actually, I just thought about that.
and one baseball team so that they have a field.
VASA has 14U now? I thought we cut off at 6th grade.
But my point is, that can be worked out. Like, that can be scheduled ahead in advance with the city to do those things. My only point was, you can't use language like they have priority access to where if I book a week out on a Saturday and y'all decide to have an extra tournament or y'all want to do a tournament and then you get what I'm saying? That was my whole point was, you have your schedule how many ever months in advance, right? Like of when you're going to do these and everything.
When it rains and then we get kicked out for one of these private.
And I never said that I don't think y'all should get the next weekend that y'all choose.
That right there would help out a lot.
But that's what,
Priority, that's limited priority.
well, yeah,
Okay,
it's
let me-
rescheduled.
let me
Yeah,
ask
I mean,
this.
I get
What-
what you're saying, but that's what I'm saying is that's okay. I just didn't want the situation to where we were on a, the season's already started, we're on, yeah, I know. And that's where I think everything got crossed, because that was my point of what I was making last month was, I didn't want that to take place. I
Okay.
didn't want that to take place.
Let me ask this. What are you proposing? Can you summarize the changes from last month to what we have this month?
Cliff notes.
Well, I would love to be able to do that, but I wasn't aware of exactly what it was that VASA wanted to change from what was approved.
Is there something in our packet that has changed from last month to this
No.
month? Okay, what would you recommend that we change from last month, what we approved last month to this month? It's a question for Jennifer.
Well, I would like to understand exactly what it is that VASA is seeking and how it relates to what the governing body as a whole wants to do. I think at this point, we have a resolution from last month that rescinded the prior agreement. So we're essentially, right,
It also
working
took off fields 3 and 4 completely.
without
right?
an agreement and removed their ability to reserve 3 and 4
Yes.
on a priority basis. So
Right, but they could still reserve.
they can reserve
Right.
it, yes. And
It's not
it's my
saying they can't
understanding
use
that you all do get priority and that you advise of your practice times the week ahead on Thursday. We reserve it and then open it up to everybody else on Friday. So is that,
Something like
accurate?
that, where y'all bring it to the table and give you priority for tournaments before the season starts to
Yeah.
play those tournaments out and set those dates.
We were just saying that we need fields for those that aren't in VASA, that want to do things. And that's not saying they can't use them all because another group has it. It's just, to me, it's just not fair to the rest of town. It's
And-
just, we
and you
need
don't
something.
charge for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we
So I
don't charge
think-
you guys.
I think we can rework the agreement that was approved last month quickly, probably by your meeting on the
gonna say, yeah, we're
24th,
back.
to comply with everything that you've said, and I think it would satisfy VASA as well. So
Thank you.
we can work on that if that's the desire of council to have that back to you on
Is
the
that soon enough for the
24th.
VASA folks, the 24th, if we can reach agreement at that time?
That's true.
Could
It's
we
still
not make
pending
a-
business.
What is the outside entity? Is it a practice or a game or? It's likely a practice and that can be moved.
All right, hang on, I recognize me.
Thank you. Weather's weather, right? Weather's weather. And if priority is given to y'all, that's great, priority is given to y'all, but if somebody has their tournament coming up in 2 weeks and they weren't affected by weather, we can't bump them so that y'all can go in there and take their place, right? Weather's weather. So I'm sorry your tournament got bumped. I've been in the same situation. Pick up the field, you just pick it up the next time you can. Can't bump somebody else. Just like if somebody had reserved the field and they paid for the field, y'all wouldn't want to be bumped. Make up for them.
But I
That's
think
the
you
only
could
thing
go
I'm
to them if it's a practice and have the city and y'all ask them, like, hey, can y'all reschedule the practice? You know,
It's a
that type of
practice,
deal.
yeah.
If it is a practice, it should be rescheduled. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I think.
But what happens when that team doesn't want to? Because that's where we're at, and that's what Jeff said, so I've got 2 VASA baseball games that are scheduled that I do have to work around because our tournament is moved, they have the priority over, and that's not a problem. The problem is that the practice is scheduled on field 3, and we can't use our tournament, which runs us into Saturday. Then we have to work around 2 games that are VASA team. One's a McKinney, and then there's a 3 McKinney team on our field. And then we have soccer as well that's also having to use fields 1 and 2 because that's where we have priority. How do we get this entire tournament in and not completely disrupt everything else? I've already reached out to the to see if there was any of those weekday games away from 4. Basically said, I've already got over 100 games scheduled from this past Saturday. It's not gonna happen.
End up with more this week when the weather comes. Next week when the weather comes.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that
It seems
particular
like
question.
a game or a tournament would take priority over
gives you that limited
practice. Yeah. Right, right.
I would be in
All right.
favor of
So-
that.
I would be good with that.
Council is in favor of us bumping practices for other organizations for VASA
I mean, I
games
think
and
it should
tournaments.
Be in the contract.
Not just on, it would have to be a situation where they got rain canceled, whatever that is.
Right.
Not
Oh,
just
sure,
on a
not
whim,
just
not just because, hey,
arbitrarily,
we
but
want to get more
yes.
Right.
practices in. That
Due
would
to
not be
weather.
allowed. Right,
I think you could put limited priority and just define what limited priority means and what
yeah.
entails.
Okay, can you bring us back a proposed agreement on the 24th? And in the meantime, ask Jeff to work with VASA to get their tournament in.
And no additional cost
Right.
for that.
Yes,
either.
we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your consideration.
You're welcome.
All right,
Know what's next.
perhaps we get a motion on item A to postpone action until the 24th of this month.
Make that motion.
Thank you. Marla's made a motion to postpone action on 5A until the 24th of this month. Ryan has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Thank goodness. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Thank you. Item 5B. It is important, I understand it, and let me make this comment. I understand that y'all are volunteers, as are we, so thank you very much for volunteering your time in the interest of the youth of our community.
Exactly.
Item B, consider adopting an ordinance approving a site plan for a church rectory place of worship, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, generally located on the southwest corner of Waco Street, State Highway 5, and Village Parkway. Alex?
Thank you very much. This is, as you stated, a request for a site plan. This property was rezoned back in October to allow for, amongst other development standard deviations, increased building height. This is the proposed site plan that is reflective of the approved zoning. The site plan before you shows the 21,000 square foot church building, as well as 300 parking spaces that are provided. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of this, subject to the conditions noted on the screen, and one of note being the incorporation of acceleration and deceleration lanes into and out of the church. Staff is supporting of the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendations and recommends approval subject to these terms. You do have representation in attendance should you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion considering adopting an ordinance.
Make a motion.
Second.
Dusty has moved to approve the ordinance, adopt an ordinance approving the site plan. Lee has seconded the motion. Any
With
further?
the P&Z recommendation?
Yeah, with the.
With the recommendations of P&Z. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed or abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Item 5C, consider adopting a resolution approving agreement with the Van Alstyne Land Investment LLC regarding roadway improvements, AKA Memorandum of Understanding regarding Kelly Lane. Alex?
Thank you very much, Mayor. This memorandum of understanding was considered at the previous city council meeting in February. You may recall it was considered in conjunction with the development agreement. For summary of what was discussed at the last meeting, the 2008-2009 Mantuay Development Agreement had various road alignments and classifications for Kelly Lane. The amendment that was approved by City Council last meeting essentially sought to remedy that by establishing the exact alignment and classification of Kelly Lane. So the approved development agreement did align Kelly Lane on Kelly Lane and did define it as a 4-lane divided roadway. So with that in mind, this particular memorandum of understanding essentially defines the obligation and timing of Kelly Lane in accordance with that approved development agreement amendment. This MOU, essentially the request for it is to allow for the construction of Kelly Lane adjacent to the 2 next site plans that are on your agenda in construction of Kelly Lane in 3 phases. The way the memorandum of understanding is written is that it would obligate 2 lanes of concrete lanes to be constructed adjacent to 7-Eleven and urgent care, and then would further obligate the 2 more northern segments in conjunction with future development in the north at the time those properties adjacent to it are developed. The reason this item was tabled at your last meeting is there was a little bit of a misunderstanding between the applicant and the city about the lanes that would effectively be resulting from this MOU. It's effectively been resolved, and just to be clear, this MOU would obligate 2 lanes of construction of Kelly Lane. It would allow for it in 3 phases, but it would also obligate the 2 existing asphalt lanes of Kelly Lane to remain until at some point in the future when they are constructed. So you would ultimately have 4 effective lanes of Kelly Lane through the construction phase. As an alternative, the applicant has provided this secondary option that does show the existing asphalt lanes that could be retrofitted with striping that would essentially allow for a continuous left turn on the existing western lane of Kelly Lane that would ultimately become a second northbound lane. So this is on your agenda for consideration as well, whether or not that existing lane should be a continuous left, or it should just remain two northbound, continuous left-hand turn lane, or not, and just allow two free-flowing north lanes.
The road work, though, would be done prior to those businesses opening or in conjunction?
The MOU would obligate that prior to a CO for 7-Eleven or urgent care, that these lanes would be substantially completed and drivable.
To what benefit do our taxpayers, or, I mean, I know it's Mantua, but it's still, we're here to our people. What benefit is it to our people to have to undergo Kelly construction for so much longer for the convenience of the developer when they're required to do the 2 lanes before construction?
Yeah, nobody benefits from elongated construction.
Well, I mean, somebody does. That's why they're asking. I just fail to see how it benefits the city or our people to allow them to do it in payment plans, stages. Like, what's the thinking?
I'll allow the developer to speak to that. I mean, if I could just be so presumptuous, it's the cost of these 2 developments weighed against the cost of the full entire half roadway section is probably disproportional to them, but that would be for them to elaborate on.
What did the original agreement state? That they had to do it ahead of schedule or ahead of even opening these businesses?
So the
I
way,
don't remember.
correct. So the development agreement, which references the city ordinances, would obligate the entirety of the road adjacent to of the 26 acres to be constructed upon plattings. In other words, as opposed to being constructed in 3 phases, these developments would be obligated to build the entirety of their half of road.
Other questions for Alex? Mr. Fletcher is here, I believe, from Gimli Horn. Anything you want to add, sir?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thomas Fletcher with Kimley Horn. I am filling in for the engineer on the project, but will do my best to share what we've done since the last council meeting. Hearing the concerns about maintaining the 4 lanes of traffic, we've provided this updated alignment, which has shifted the 2 southbound lanes to the west to allow for creating a median between the existing asphalt pavement and the proposed concrete pavement. It also allows for, in the future, the northbound lanes to be constructed and provide a median that's planned for with the ultimate 4-lane arterial. As far as the roadway segments go, as Alex has mentioned, it is generally speaking, when you develop undeveloped property, you are doing the public infrastructure improvements as the development goes along. So that is why this is proposed to be developed in up to 3 segments. I know the way the MOU is written, if the property furthest north is developed before the interior of the property, then it would be built in 2 segments. Happy to entertain any questions or try to answer any questions. I do know with this proposed section, a lot of times where you have, from a traffic standpoint, from level of service, a lot of times where you have issues at your intersections. So by maintaining the 4 lanes of traffic at the intersection where where cars are turning in and off of Kelly Lane, this is going to provide a higher level of service. It does provide that free right turn, the designated left turn. It has the through northbound lane, and then it also has the ability to stripe that turn lane into the developments. With the segment and just with the section to the north being 2 lanes, in any scenario, you're going to end up merging that traffic, those 2 northbound lanes, into a single lane where you have the 2 lanes of traffic. I'm not familiar with the history of the development agreement. I went through and did read sections of the development agreement, and I did read where in Article 3, Section 3.3, it does state that the public infrastructure will be constructed or acquired by the developer in phases using financing by the developer. So I'm not I know we're here asking to do it in segments. I don't have the history of how this section of the development agreement specifically applies to this roadway, but I'm happy to answer any questions or try to answer any questions you may have.
It was my understanding from Alex, if I could just real quick,
Please.
that you said they were required prior to last month, they were required to build 3 lanes because Kelly was planned to be a 6-lane road. So they would be required to do 3 lanes on their side and required to do that up front to all of their property, not in phases. So is that correct or is that not correct?
The original development agreement.
Now it's 2, I get that, but the other terms should not change.
So the original development agreement classified as a 6-lane divided roadway with a minimum 140 feet of right-of-way, as you stated. But, so that was a road classification, but the obligation to construct it hasn't changed. It's obligated to be constructed with platting. So the request for doing it in segments is just simply what they're requesting.
But if that's what the development agreement says, why are they asking for this special?
The subdivision ordinance allows developers to request for deferral of improvements.
Okay, so I'm still confused. So the development
Okay.
agreement says they need to do their 2 lanes now that we changed it last month, all the way for what they own at one time,
Correct.
not while they plat, because they haven't platted, because they don't have the other businesses. So which is it? Because that's 2 different things, is it not?
So the development agreement references the subdivision ordinance, and so the subdivision ordinance triggers improvements when properties are platted. Because you have a 7-Eleven, you have urgent care, they're obligated to plat, that triggers the obligation to build their segment of road adjacent to their entire parent track.
Which is the whole road.
The whole,
Their whole half.
yes.
Right.
And so that hasn't changed. What has changed is what the road classification and the alignment.
Right.
Now, the subdivision ordinance also allows for deferral of improvements. So that's effectively what they're asking for this evening is, we don't want to build the whole segment now. We're asking to build it in up to 3 phases.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments?
I got one.
So that's a schematic exhibit, so it's roughly about 5 feet between the edge of the asphalt and the road. So when the design is done, we will grade that like a median, so it would typically be sod or something of the sort.
Yeah, I get that. I'm looking at that asphalt. We don't have a curb and gutter on that asphalt.
That's correct, so.
And without a gutter there or any kind of drainage system, the county road that is Kelly Lane in that area will drain under your concrete, kill your Lyman Heavy Road if something's not taken care of there.
Right, so what we would do when we would do the design is we would look at the 2 new southbound lanes and try and make those lower than the existing edge. So any drainage would go onto the new pavement and get picked up in the curb inlets and then the drainage system that's going to convey the stormwater. So the exhibit is a little deceiving because it looks like it would trap water or put the water under the pavement, but that would all be worked out in design, and the runoff from the existing road would be picked up in the new road in an underground storm sewer system and conveyed through it.
Without saying, I'm sure the county is appreciative of your diligence.
Other questions or comments?
Is this,
Okay.
we keep saying 2 or 3. Is it 2 or is it 3?
It depends, is my understanding. If they were developed the north before the middle, they're obligated to do segments 2 and 3 at the same time. But if they develop the middle as phase 2, then they're just going to do that segment. And when they develop the north, they'll do that segment. So the only way it would be 2 is if the north third of the lot developed second.
But
This
that's,
being first.
that's what they're asking for is 3 phases, correct?
Up to.
Up to 3 phases in this deal. Whereas, like Katrina just talked about, right now, it's go do the whole road.
Right.
Correct. We're requesting to construct the road as the site plats and develops.
But there is nothing on paper right now that says that y'all can do that outside of the request that you're making
We would
today.
have to approve it.
Okay.
Alex just said they have to do their entire,
Yeah, no, I was asking if there was anything on, like, any other way to roundabout to it or anything like that to where they could do it in phases outside of just asking us today to approve that. And there's no, so.
So it's a lot less concrete because you're not doing the full lane, 3 lanes, just doing 2.
One thing I would like to point out to the council is that the original, so with the meeting where y'all adopted the adjustments to the thoroughfare plan for the development, the original 6-lane divided roadway was not adjacent to this portion of this development. It had a horizontal curve that took it further to the east to align it with County Road 374.
were there not 2 different options on that? Because when I asked about that, you guys act like I pulled it out of the air.
No, I believe at the time the inquiry, as I recall, was whether or not there was contemplation or consideration of keeping that Kelly Lane swooping to the southeast. It was the intention of staff and through all of our planning documents to keep Kelly Lane on Kelly Lane.
Is the document that you needed to get all the developers to sign, yeah, I guess it would be developers, in Mantuay signed, what was that document about
Oh, yeah.
the roadway?
The development agreement amendment,
Yeah, is that signed?
not entirely, it's still in circulation, they're tracking down signatures still.
And that document null and voids any of what we just mentioned there about the old Kelly Lane movement and
Exactly.
everything. It's just the one road straight down as it is configured today, correct?
Until that agreement is fully executed, goes legally, it would fall back to the 140-foot right-of-way, 6-lane divided alignment that veers off to the south.
So then we could just work on rerouting Kelly Lane like he's referring to, and then they won't have a corner property for their 7-Eleven or their,
Well, there would
They
still be
wouldn't.
there would still be a corner property because there's still access to the
would it
property.
be on the act? Well, there wouldn't be a road.
Yeah, the Kelly Lane, the existing road wouldn't go away. It would just be reconfigured to tie in. It's access to existing property. You can't just take that away from those property owners. But the development agreement in the road infrastructure exhibit I-2 originally had Kelly Lane, the 6-lane divided, going off to the east.
Okay, well, if the
So-
Kelly went straight, then wouldn't you still be required regardless?
Right. We would be required to build our 2 lanes, which
Yes.
is what's being proposed. So we're in agreement with the adjustment to the roadway classification and the location. We're just asking to build the roadway in segments. Y'all at the last council meeting approved the changes to that document. So now we're complying with that. We went back and we adjusted the roadway to provide the ability to maintain 4 lanes of pavement. So essentially a 4-lane divided section with the existing Kelly Lane until the track to the east develops. We're just asking, similar to what others have asked, to defer the future segment 2 and 3 as the property develops to
Yeah,
the
I
north.
understand what you're asking for.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
What, have they signed their portion of that document? Like the people that own that piece of property about changing Kelly to,
I don't know if they specifically have signed.
well, that would be helpful.
So should we wait until they sign it so that it's all legal and then we can make this decision? Doesn't affect you.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, we asked that question with another developer last meeting for the residential on the other side, and it was the pleasure of council not necessarily to wait, but again, that's certainly the discretion of the
Well, I'm
council.
just,
No, and I understand that, and I understand that. I'm just trying to think through all the scenarios because I don't want you to build it in 3 phases. I want you to go build the whole dang road like you need to build. But I don't want,
All right, so here's, if that doesn't get signed.
that's why I was asking the
All right,
question.
if that doesn't get signed, then Kelly Lane goes back to the way it was, right? It skirts and it goes through, Bill Benton's property.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it goes through Bill Benton's property. Bill's not giving up his property to the county. He's got too much with it being a square. Now, there is access right there that's acknowledged by the county. So if they don't sign it, it goes back to the original developer agreement, and that thing kicks over to the one side. But Kelly Lane doesn't go away.
No, and I know that.
Right, his responsibility goes away because Kelly Lane is off to the side. Yes, it does.
Then he would have to do 3 lanes for all the other part of Kelly.
No, he won't.
Yes, he would.
Because Kelly Lane now goes to the other side.
Kelly Lane was gonna be 6.
How would that work?
Mayor and council, if it changes the alignment so it is not adjacent, then they may not have the obligation to construct anything.
There you go.
The whole property wasn't,
They'll have,
The adjacent portion would be obligated.
Exactly.
The part that veers off wouldn't.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Then you're all
The majority of their property would not go the other way. That's my point.
Right,
But
so
would-
from Thompson down to the curve would have to be done.
I understand.
The 7-Eleven that's going in next week would not be done.
Okay, it's still the same request for their property.
Okay, let's talk about, Alex, can you come back up, and we're gonna switch to a different slide real quick. And talk about that, the northbound lanes, whether we want a continuous turn lane or not.
I don't know. The city's traffic engineer sort of suggested that they think that the continuous left would be a preferable from a traffic engineering standpoint, but they would I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, they sort of felt like it was appropriate to defer to the city council.
Yeah, I would agree. So if I'm where that car is, about to turn onto Kelly Lane, and I decide to go into the 7-Eleven, I'm only gonna make that mistake once. Every time after that, I'm gonna keep going straight, go down to the access road, and make an easy right rather than a difficult left. So my thought is, I don't think I want a continuous left. Let's make them both northbound.
And I think that we felt there was sentiment that we wanted 2 lanes so they could be 2 functional lanes rather than
Yeah.
restricting one to being a turn only.
I agreed.
But you're gonna have Mr. Mayor, you're still gonna have, when it goes back to one lane, you're still
Yep.
gonna have merging issues at that particular point, whereas a
Agreed.
continuous left eliminates that merging issue at the,
I
inflection
agree. I
point.
think there's another way to eliminate it. You're still gonna have to merge.
not eliminates, because you're still gonna have cars that get in that lane and not
because
turn and
that's
go.
right.
The continuous left goes away on northbound and southbound, whether the development goes because it's a divided. So your median goes away, you have a deceleration turn lane.
But I thought to keep the 2 asphalt
this is
lanes
afterwards.
afterwards, right? Yeah, I'm just kind of,
To your point, it kind of makes more sense to have them do it all at once, so then you have to deal with that nightmare once, not 3 times.
I think they should build it all at once, but
Right.
I don't want to lose, I don't, the reason why I was asking the questions is I don't want, and David, maybe you can, I don't want any legal ramifications to say no to where we get something, we've come from nothing to at least this point, and I don't want to go back to nothing.
So, Mayor and council, I think after talking with staff briefly, I believe it's staff's recommendation that the MOU before council be adopted. And here's the policy reasons or some of the back history that may not have come to light at this point. My understanding is this was originally a huge parent tract that was cut up into 14 or 13, however many parcels. What we understand is the buyer of this parcel purchased it and may not have fully understood the obligation to construct the entire road at one time.
We knew that.
So that their proposal to the city is basically to construct in phases as they're receiving sort of income development money from each portion of the phase. In addition, I think what we would maybe recommend is in addition to that this become not effective until and unless they have signed and returned that 4th amendment that we talked about last time.
Yeah, it
because the
changes
road
code, yeah.
alignment, I think, is critical to the entire, development, and we obviously want all parties to sign that. But that's the reason why staff is recommending this, is because of the individual economic circumstances of this developer and their sort of proposed phase development of this property, to do it in either 3 or 2 segments.
Okay,
So I
thanks,
under-
David.
Yeah, I understood all that. I was just hoping it was signed, because then that would eliminate the original road, and then,
I think from a legal standpoint, we would recommend that if this is approved tonight, it'd be contingent on the return of the Fourth Amendment to the city. Because without that alignment, this doesn't make sense for anybody. And you would think that this developer of anyone would have returned that, but that may not be the case.
Okay, thanks. Yes, I am ready for
I
a motion.
understand why it's not the case.
Katrina,
I guess in the alternative, council could defer this to either the meeting on the 24th or roll it to April to give the developer time to get that Fourth Amendment into the
Yeah,
city.
but I already let the cat out of the bag, so
I will make a motion to deny the MOU.
got a motion to deny the MOU. Is there a second? Calling for a second. Not hearing a second, the motion dies for lack of a second. Is there another motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Sorry, is that motion to approve contingent on receiving the Fourth Amendment?
Got a motion to approve contingent. Is there a second to that motion?
Mayor,
Second call for a second.
Can I have a second, just to think real quick?
Yes.
You're not doing a rock and a hard place. You're in a subdivision that touches a road that doesn't belong to us.
Yeah, well, can that not be considered the same thing?
I don't think that matters at all, though. I think it matters whether we let them do it in phases or whether they have to do what's currently required, and that's their entire property at one time and not inconvenience everybody in town
Well-
for the benefit of these developers.
Can I ask a
Here.
question then?
Sure.
If the road, if we didn't get the 14 signatures, right, and Kelly stayed in the original agreement that was there, way back in 2008, then would the current Kelly Road, would that be still a road that's considered a city road? Like, would that be, or would we have to go annex it in, or what would we do?
I'm not sure, and Alex, correct me on this, but part of the road is in the county, is that correct, or? I'm not sure who.
The whole
Yeah,
road.
there we go. That's the division. So there's mud, county, city, and state
So,
portion.
yeah, so we don't even own any of the road.
Oh, we do.
You did the blue portion.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of this 3-phase deal right here is what we're talking about, right? Correct?
Correct. Those lanes, I believe, are not city.
And the county stand, okay. I'll second the motion to
Got a
approve.
motion and a second. Is there further discussion? To approve the MOU, I would like to offer an amendment that says part of the MOU would not make a continuous turn lane on the northbound asphalt. Can I get a second on my amendment?
I'll second that.
Repeat that. What'd you say?
That the northbound asphalt would be 2 continuous northbound lanes with no continuous turn lane. And Dusty, a second of that amendment to the motion.
And you're talking about even at build out with with the median, it can't be that.
I'm just saying, we don't want a turn lane, we don't want a continuous turn lane was my motion.
We'll
My
get a
amendment.
median, though, we'll have okay, yeah.
Okay, so the vote currently before the council is just on the amendment.
Correct.
That's what's before council.
And Dusty seconded the motion for the amendment. All right, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to the amendment?
Aye.
That was Marla and Katrina and Angelica.
I'll abstain because I'm not for any of it,
Marla and
so.
Angelica.
Marla and Angelica, and any abstentions?
I did.
All right.
2 abstentions, 1.
This is just an
Katrina
amendment
has
to the motion.
abstained, so the motion carries 1, 2, 3,
I don't like the motion, so I'm not.
4 to, the amendment carries 4 votes to 2 with Katrina abstaining to the amendment to make the continuous asphalt northbound lanes continuous northbound and not a turn lane.
Okay, so then the secondary motion was a motion to approve the MOU contingent on the fourth amendment to the development agreement with the mayor's amendment attached, is what's currently before council.
That's the primary motion. Yeah, that's the primary motion. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion or amendments to the primary motion? Hearing none, I would entertain a vote on that. All in favor of the
Motion before the council.
adopting a resolution approving the MOU with the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
That was 3. Motion carries 4 votes to 3 with Marla, Angelica, and Katrina opposed. That motion carries. Thank you very much. That was item C. Item D, consider adopting an ordinance approving a site plan for a convenience store with fuel pumps 7-Eleven bounded by US Highway 75, Kelly Lane, and Panther Parkway in the city of Van Alstyne's ETJ. Alex?
The Mantua Development Agreement have development standards, although it's in the ETJ. This is the site plan that's reflective of the proposed 7-Eleven at the far south side of the property we just discussed, having satisfied all the requirements and development standards of the Mantua Development Agreement. The site plan shows a 4,800 square foot 7-Eleven with the associated parking and 6 fuel islands. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval with the conditions noted on the screen, and staff is recommending approval of the same.
Questions for Alex? Can you go back to the site plan? And make sure there's access off both Kelly Lane and US 75. Is there a
Good point. And so one of the conditions of approval is the obligation of a second point of access. It's bullet point 3. That condition of approval being that there's a second point of access provided to the Henry Hines Expressway. And if I go back a few slides, you can see in the next item on your agenda, having pieced these together, that the next item on your agenda, the urgent care, provides that secondary point of access through cross access to the north to the 75 access road.
Is the urgent care already, like, ready to go too?
next on our agenda?
Yeah, this,
But so phase 1 and 2 is already gonna be built out on the roadside.
No,
Not phase.
both of these are phase 1.
Oh, phase 1, yeah, okay. But that's still a good chunk of it, right?
That's a third of it, or less than a third of it. So they weren't going to have access to the access road?
they were always obligated to have 2 points of access. It was up to their discretion whether they had a secondary point on Kelly Lane, but the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended the second point be out on 75 instead. The 7-Eleven was always obligated to have 2 points of access. They could have provided a second point out onto Kelly Lane, having 2 points of access to the 7-Eleven from Kelly Lane, but instead they're providing their 2 points, one from Kelly, one from 75 access.
Other questions for Alex?
P&Z thing.
Hearing no other questions, entertain a motion. Oh, more questions?
Didn't you just say they would have to go through the care? It's not an access from 7-Eleven, they'd have to come around urgent care.
Yes, and that's what's
That's not
proposed.
really them providing two then,
There's
for
a,
7-Eleven specifically.
yes, so the 7-Eleven will have that access point, as you can see on this site plan, and their second point will go north and be provided to 75 access road through the urgent care site.
Can you go to that slide that shows that? I know it's the next agenda item, so.
The traffic going through the urgent.
Thanks. Other questions or comments for Alex?
Why do they not have to have I mean, why was it not recommended that that 7-Eleven be required what they're required to do and have two, not the urgent care have two?
That's fair. And the applicant may be able to speak to maybe restrictions with TxDOT driveway spacing. However, I mean, through commercial development, cross-access and various points through cross-access is pretty typical, but perhaps
It is, but a gas station all the way through the urgent care seems backwards.
do y'all care to discuss that?
I don't like that either.
Yeah, good evening. On the urgent care facility, when you look at the spacing for the TxDOT access, with the TxDOT access, we're providing a deceleration lane, so traffic on the access road can get into that right turn lane, slow down, and make the turn. In order to meet TxDOT spacing requirements, their storage distance and their transition distance for that right turn lane, it doesn't have enough length in order to have that directly into the 7-Eleven site. So for commercial retail development, cross-access is pretty typical. So with these two developments together, you end up having the required points of access to adequately serve the developments. And I know it's kind of hard to see on how it's pieced together, but you can see the Henry Hines Expressway, and then off to the side or to the right, you see kind of two dashed lines. That's the existing travel lanes, the northbound travel lanes. And then the line adjacent to that is where the right turn lane or the deceleration lane into the development is being proposed. So cars coming in will be able to pull off into the right turn lane, slow down, make a safe turn into the development. If they choose, they can go to the urgent care or they can go to the 7-Eleven. As the project develops, they'll also be able to access the development as it continues to the north as well. And then that also allows for traffic to exit onto the frontage road for TxDOT also.
I know it's the next agenda item, but is there an access to the medical office from
Off
Kelly
Lane?
also?
There is, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
basically 3 for these 2 properties.
That's correct.
I have a question. So based on TxDOT's acceleration and deceleration, is that the earliest entry that is possible?
I know, so I didn't coordinate with TxDOT. That's been submitted to TxDOT Improve. There was coordination through TxDOT, and my understanding is that that is the earliest, but I would have to go back and confirm that. But when you look at where, and it's probably easier to see on the urgent care site plan, but when you look at the transition, where the transition starts meeting that length for storage to get into the plan, and I don't know, it doesn't look like it really shows the full thing there, and I'm not sure if this. Yeah, so the right turn lane into the site, it has a 100-foot taper, and then it has so it has 540 feet to future Panther Parkway or the drive. But what basically it's doing is providing 240 feet of storage in a 100-foot taper to meet TxDOT requirements.
Yeah. Sounds like we don't really have a choice. If it's TxDOT requirements, like.
Correct, and TxDOT has reviewed and approved the layout that we've got here for that turn lane.
Thank you. Other questions or comments regarding the site plan? Item D, I would entertain a motion.
Council, just one point before you vote.
Yes, sir.
On receipt, review, and approval of road plans for Kelly Lane. As one of the subject P&Z recommendations, staff would read that to include the receipt of that 4th amendment to the development agreement, because that is integral to the road plans for Kelly Lane.
Okay.
Make a motion to what's before us.
Item D, the
All of
site
this.
plan.
With the P&Z
With the
recommendations?
P&Z recommendations.
Whatever you just said.
Well, okay.
So we got a
I
motion
will
to,
second that.
got a motion and a second from Katrina to adopt an ordinance approving the site plan with P&Z recommendations for the convenience store. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Item E, consider adopting an ordinance approving a site plan for the urgent care bounded by US 75, North Henry Hines, Kelly Lane, and north of Panther Parkway in the city of Van Alstyne's ETJ. Alex?
Thank you. This is a site plan for the urgent care, showing the 8,400 square foot urgent care facility with the associated parking. That's been the source of a bit of discussion. I gladly, the Planning and Zoning Commission did have similar recommendations, obviously 2 points of access not being included in this particular recommendation of approval, but staff would recommend approval along these lines.
Questions for Alex? Lee?
I was gonna say, I make a motion again, because I thought I was doing this the last time.
Lee's made a motion to approve with P and Z recommendations, the site plan.
And what David said.
Yeah. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dusty is seconding the motion. I have a question regarding parking. So it's not clear to me where the parking is. Is it either side of the fire lane and either side of the drive lane? Or at least the west side of the drive lane?
It's either side of both north-south fire lanes.
Okay.
I believe there's around 36 parking spaces.
And then the covered parking, is that staff or?
There's an ambulatory drop-off with a little porte-cochere or cover there.
It's on the south side, but she's talking about the east side. There's one labeled covered parking. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh,
Like adjacent to the fire lane.
for the doctors, I'm sure.
For the Lexus, yeah.
I deny then.
All right. Any other questions on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? That motion carries 7 votes to 0. Thank you all for the discussion. Thanks to the applicants for coming up tonight and answering questions. Item 6, City Manager Report. Mr. Jones.
We didn't empty out the house.
Yes, yes.
I thought I might come up and talk about Kelly Lane and VASA for a little
Yeah,
while,
please.
in case you didn't get enough of that. As in regards to VASA, there are 2 things that are happening that will help mitigate some of the issues we have. First is, I visited with the Rizzlin developer concerning the 2 acres of land that we are receiving deed simple for a future firehouse that's probably 5 years out. It's in the Rizzlin development. The developer has agreed to grade that site for us, to irrigate it, and either seed or sod it, so it can be used for soccer, for any program that we might have. And because it is irrigated and seeded or sod, hopefully we can do away with the trip hazards that we have in other locations. And secondly, in 2018, we renegotiated the agreement with Rizzlin that included a park that would have 2 softball, 2 baseball, and 2 soccer fields. And that development agreement is in place today. It had a trigger point of 1,000 homes for the first 2 fields to be built. And when it was just the Rizzlin development, that hitting that point was a slow process. I think there are about 581 homes with 3A, 3B, and 3C now being constructed. But when they sold their development off in pieces to 12 or 14 buyers, one of those was Centurion American. Centurion America is moving dirt, presently putting in their utilities, and their first phase is 600 homes. So what was a distant horizon is now within reach. We have to wait for permits to be pulled for them to build and sell homes, but instead of waiting 5 or 6 years, that could happen a lot sooner than what we anticipated. So we'll be adding to our inventory. That park will become a city park with baseball, softball, and soccer fields. And we will be involved in the design of that park too, so we'll get some input on it. As an update to the senior center, it's moving along very quickly. If you get a chance to get over there, you should. The building, for the most part, is complete. The interior is finished out. They're moving in all the kitchen appliances at this point, putting in the vent hoods. The exterior sign is on the building. Gas and electric is all being resolved. Today, they were forming the ADA compliant ramps to get in the door. The new front door has been installed. We have window blinds that will be delivered because there are a lot of windows in that facility. And Jennifer and I went and sat down with the Senior Center board. They agreed to help fund some of the furniture that goes in that. So Candy took a trip down to Nebraska Furniture Mart and bought some soft seating and some new tables and chairs because we really didn't want to move what was in the old facility. So we'll hold a garage sale and put that funding in the board's coffers for future needs. Jennifer met with Meals on Wheels. They discussed needs for the center. Meals on Wheels ordered right on the spot a new commercial range to go into the kitchen and some TVs for the walls. So we're making really good progress. The parking lot is underway. This rain doesn't help, so you'll see a big pile of concrete over there, but they'll be back working on that. We're still targeting opening the facility on the 23rd of this month, but we won't have the parking lot we want to have, so it'll be a little bit difficult. But everybody at the Senior Center is very excited to have it open and operating. At the end of February, I met with senior management and our contractor to discuss the public safety facility. We reviewed the entire project, start to finish. I'm pleased to tell you that the project remains on time and within budget, which is a lot to say on a project of this magnitude. It is moving along very quickly. If you haven't driven by it, you can see it now. I mean, it's very visible. The building's up, the masonry's up. We'll be hosting a topping off event in, I may have the date in front of me, but in the next couple of weeks, which is a beam signing, and we'll do it from 10 to 2. You can stop by any time during that period of time, sign a beam. It'll be the last steel beam erected in that facility. We will take possession of the building in October of this year. Then we have a lot of internal work to do. We'll fully occupy the facility in January, and we'll operate in there for a couple of months before we do a grand opening event to make sure we work through anything that does not work as it should. We are in the process, or actually we've made the conversion to free chlorine. This is an annual disinfection process where we move from chloramines to free chlorine. It helps keep the lines clear that come through Van Alstyne. We made that transition last Wednesday without incident, without a phone call. My shower doesn't smell like chlorine. We didn't have any complaints, so we're very, very happy with that. We will operate using free chlorine for a month before we make the conversion back to chloramines. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Questions for the city manager? All right, hearing none, we appreciate your update, sir. Item 7 on our agenda is mayor and council closing comments.
Executive?
Yeah, it's after this. Not done yet.
I was like, yeah, they canceled it.
Angelica.
Sure to thank all of the citizens and especially staff. I know that today was a little bit of a rough meeting, but I'd be remiss if I didn't thank everybody for their attendance and for their input, and especially council and P&Z. So thank you.
Rough, but not as rough as last month.
Katrina.
I want to echo what she said. Thank you, guys.
Lee?
Thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate having y'all. Lane and staff, good job on keeping the public safety center on time and on budget. That's, day and age, that's rare.
Well, the thanks really goes to my chief financial officer, our police chief, and our fire chief. They have worked diligently, meeting weekly with their contractors to keep us on track.
Well, that's great.
Excellent.
Thank y'all.
Dusty?
Thanks, Ed.
All right. Ryan?
Yeah, thank you all. And the senior center is awesome. It's really cool. So if you get a chance to go look at it, it's like, I mean, they're going to be so happy. From where they were to where they're going to be now is just like stepping into a mansion. So, there you go. That's all.
I'm a part of that.
Thank you. A couple of things upcoming. Mr. Jones mentioned the senior center opening on the 23rd of this month. On the 24th is a council workshop here at 4 p.m. Everyone's welcome back to join us on the 24th. The 28th, much more exciting news, is the Margarita Crawl from 1 to 4 on Saturday, the 28th, here in lovely downtown Van Alstyne. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the end of this month, actually April 1st, is the last day to register to vote in the May elections. So convince your friends in the city and the school district to get registered if you're not already. April 5th is Easter Sunday. Feel free to visit a church of your choice. I'm sure any of our local churches would be glad to have any visitors that are coming out. And 4/14 is our next council meeting. Most importantly, I want to congratulate two of our 911 operators. Miss Courtney Hopper and Miss Holly Pettit were recipients of the Silent Hero Award at the Telecom of Texoma Region banquet that was last month. So congratulations to Miss Hopper and Miss Pettit for outstanding work that they do every day to keep our citizens safe and respond to phone calls that come in on the 911 lines, as well as phone calls that come in on the non-emergency lines. So that's all I have. Want to recognize Mr. Clay Barnett here visiting us from Hoyt Zollers, one of our engineering firms of record. And we are now moving to item 8, executive session. In accordance with Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 551, Open Meetings Act, the City Council may meet in enclosed executive session pursuant to applicable laws. Section 551071, consultation with attorney. An order granting the application by Treasure Island Laguna Azure LLC for TPDES permit number, I'll dispense with that. SOA docket number, I'll dispense with that. TCEQ docket as written on your agenda. And item B, 551072, deliberation regarding real property, sub-item 1, future development. So I make it 8:16, and we're going to go into executive session at this time. We're going to retire to the conference room. Those of you are welcome to stick around out here in this area. If not, we'll see you in a couple weeks. 8:39. And we are out of executive session at 8:39, and there was no necessary appropriate action as a result of executive session, for we'll dispense with item 9. Item 10, we've covered everything on the agenda, so I declare the meeting to be adjourned at 8:40.
Yes.
We are done until 2 weeks from now.
You didn't even have to